Alright guys, this video is going to be just a little bit different than normal. BJ is out of town on vacation, and I've been pretty busy around the shop, getting some stuff wrapped up here and there, and it's been going pretty good, but don't have much left to do here at the moment, which hard to believe, I know. I think it's time that I got to work on some of my stuff, and I got quite a few projects going on that some of you might find pretty interesting. So we're gonna head to my place and go scout out what I've got, some potential projects, and see if we can get into a little bit of trouble. Well, here is my humble abode. Those will be referenced shortly. Well, for starters, 1100F, that is part of a build that I'm doing currently. For that frame back there, which engine from that bike is going in that bike, and it's going to be getting CBR 600 swing arm, forks, triples, just to kind of modernize it a little bit. That bike has always been on my bucket list ever since I first got into motorcycles, so that will be coming up in the relatively near future. I'm really excited to start modifying that and see what I can do with it. We got a cute little Honda Express, which came out of Archway actually. A lot of the stuff I have right now came out of Archway, but this dude will be a fun project at some point. And we have a 81? Yeah, 81 CB750F, which, of course, me being partial to the 1100s, we actually saw this in Archway during our challenge video. Ooh. Oh, that would be cool. That would be really cool. Probably way too much work. Tempting. Oh, shoot. Probably can't. Too much work. Hopefully someone saves her though. Now that 750 came out of Archway, and we referenced it in the video during the 48-hour challenge. We talked about it being a really cool bike, and I was all over it. I really wanted this thing. But we were so crunched for time, it was really not feasible to get it. And I'd kind of lost hope for ever seeing it again. But as fortune would have it, the current owner of the building got in contact with us, and we were able to work something out. And that's where the majority of my projects have come from here lately, including the 750F that I was able to acquire. So this guy, I've actually already done a little bit of work to. Of course, when we found it, there wasn't a front wheel on it. There was no gauges or any of the electrical either, really. It didn't even have shocks on it. So I snagged a Nighthawk wheel, threw it on just so I could roll it around, and just working through the old salvage yard, I managed to piecemeal this guy back together. So I've been compiling all the parts that I've been finding out there and slowly trying to just make a fun little runner out of this and do a will it run. As I said about those carburetors on the workbench in there, those are for the Spike, and they've already been cleaned, and I have kits for them. So I think what I'm going to do is throw those carburetors together, put them on the bike, and do a little bit of buttoning up just to make this thing somewhat rideable and see what it can do. I really don't think it is too far from being a rider, minus, novelties like a clutch lever and brakes and, that kind of thing. But I think there is something that we can work with here. But before we get too far into that, I guess I can peruse a couple other things. my beloved Honda CB350. I think it's popped up in a couple of bike night videos once or twice, but always just trying to improve it, do this and that to it. The VFR 800, that thing's going to be in the stable forever. I just absolutely adore those bikes. Pretty much capable of doing anything you would ever want them to do. Got a sad little parts VFR bike there, and as you do, a 04 Ninja ZX12, I think it is. Not sure what I'm going to do with that thing yet. And, well, you might be noticing a theme of Hondas and red, pretty colors. I guess I'm kind of a Honda guy. Who would have thought? Good old XL500. I haven't really used it much lately. I'm not sure what I'm going to go for next in the off-road department. Maybe a XR650? That'd be pretty cool. And that right there is my overflow. Let's see what we got tucked away in here. Be warned, it is not a pretty sight. Yeah, I might have gotten a little crazy on my adventures back at Archway. Miscellaneous parts, of course, the tank to that 750. Definitely want to grab that. But interestingly, I don't know if you can tell what it is or not, but that is a VTR 250. I'm not quite sure what the goal is going to be with that guy. It is fairly complete. It needs carburetors and obviously, you know, the front end. But I think we might have some fun plans for that in the future. Gonna have to see where we go with it. Believe it or not, that box and that engine, you may recognize it. That is a Nighthawk 700 engine. Now, I've always liked the 80s, very boxy, square-looking models, hence why I love the 1100F and the 750F. So naturally, I was pretty drawn to a Nighthawk as well. Now, I know BJ and I have talked about potentially trying to get one if we come across the right deal. Well, it just so happened that at Archway, got to looking and they had, amongst a ton of other bikes, of course, a Nighthawk 700 chassis, engine, swing arm, and a whole box of parts specific to the Nighthawk. I think they were in the process of parting one out towards the end of the run of the business. So that might be a interesting project in the future. Maybe turn a pile of parts into a Nighthawk. I don't know. It could be fun. I have no idea what condition the engine's in. I think I have probably 75% of the bike, but I'm still missing a lot. Like, when I say a lot, this thing it doesn't have a fuel tank, I have no plastics, no headlight, and I'm sure a laundry list of other things. But I would love to see this bike run and ride again. Just for the fact to see if I could turn a pile of random parts into something substantial again. I gotta fix those doors. As you can tell, I got a couple of projects in the pipeline. For the sake of something that'll be relatively quick compared to that in there, I think I'm gonna go ahead and grab the 750F that is in the shop here, load it up, and see if we can get this thing running and riding, at least do a lap around the parking lot. I really don't think we're too far off from having a runner out of it. So I'm gonna grab some parts, load this thing up, and we're gonna see what we can do here. All right, got the 750 drug out. Like I said, I think the plan here is just to get this thing to a semi-functioning running state. I don't think it'll take much. BJ kindly provided a correct 750 wheel, well, Comstar wheel anyway. Right now it has a Nighthawk wheel on it, since I have an abundance of Nighthawk parts right now, which honestly looks kind of cool. But for simplicity's sake, I'm probably going to switch out to the Comstar. Carburetors, figure out if I have a caliper, well, 3 calipers I guess, because brakes are pretty important. As far as the electrical system goes, I've kind of halfway dabbled with it a little bit. I know that it has spark because it hurt my soul to do it, but they came off the 1100, the coils did, as well as these igniter units. And I've done a little bit of repair work to the harness because the last people absolutely shredded this thing. Whoever worked on it anyway. So there's going to be a little bit more electrical to button up for things to be a little bit more acceptable. But it shouldn't take much. And after that, carburetors, bleed some brakes, put an airbox on it. I don't know. I think it'll be pretty good. It's a good chain. I gotta be honest, I kind of dig how this thing looks. The Nighthawk wheel, the blue cowl, and the tank kind of bagged down due to the lack of a shock absorber on this side, but I think it looks pretty cool. Kind of a rat rod, junkyard bike kind of thing. Anywho, gonna get that rack of carburetors set up on the bench, start slapping those together, and hopefully we won't be too far off from putting some fuel in this thing and seeing what it can do.
Many unbearable hours later.
All right, it's been a battle, but carburetors, jets, needles, metal thingies, all nice and clean now. I'll spare you the very tedious footage of that process, but they are ready to go back together. And I thought I was hosed for a while because I realized these lovely Chinese kits did not come with air cutoff valves, which is very inconvenient considering that's what the springs look like, if that tells you anything. Pretty much rusted in half. But God bless BJ and his parts hoard of CX500 parts, because they just so happen to be the correct plungers for these carburetors for the air cutoff valves. So I was able to find some of those in the hoard, and now we are back on track. So let's get these things put back together. And there we have it. A beautiful, clean rack of carburetors. That was a pain in the butt, I gotta be honest. Off camera, I went ahead and reinstalled the butterfly plates for the choke side. Those are all nice and secure. And the sprocket was all bent out of shape, so I got it as close as I could get. Works pretty good. And joke's on me, I guess, for cheaping out not only on the carburetor kits, but on the accelerator pump. The thing was like 3 inches too long, which, not a big deal. I was able to shorten it up and make it work. But honestly, if you're gonna be doing a carb kit or a carb rebuild on something you care about, probably worth spending the extra 10, 20 bucks for a K&L kit or something a little more reputable, so you're not fighting it and chasing your tail like I have been on these. But anyway, that's my soapbox. I'm about ready to slap those things on that thing, and here's where things get pretty interesting. Well, I don't know if I ever got a close-up shot of how, well, just see for yourself. It is nasty in there. I did well, I never did an official compression test on it, but it has compression, which is surprising when you get a good look in there. Yeah, it's a little rusty. They're not all that bad across all 4 of them, but that one's probably the worst. 3 and 4 are actually not too bad, but it doesn't in fact have some compression according to the good old thumb gauge. Like I said earlier, I robbed these coils and the rotor and stator off of my 1100 project, mostly because this bike didn't have those things, or at least it had a stator, but it was flopped off in the floor of the warehouse collecting rust and debris for who knows how many decades, so it wasn't doing much good. So I swapped all that out, put the coils on. These are the plugs that were originally in the bike, believe it or not. And I got spark on all 4, and that's about the point that I got to upon starting this video. So really all I have to address now is the fuel system and all that. But hopefully I can get all this buttoned up, get an airbox and those carbs on, and see if we can get something pop out of here. Gonna take bets for what kind of oil comes out. Is it gonna be no oil? Is it gonna be water? Who knows? Huh. It's actually oily. Boy, there's not much coming out of there though. That's like a few ounces. Good to know. We'll get her filled up with some gorgeous Rotella and have her on her way. Okay. I don't know what the deal is about late night first starts and thunderstorms, but we seem to have a theme of it, which I'm cool with. We got auxiliary fuel tank, battery, oil. I just topped it off. Let's see what happens. Let's get some fuel flow in here. Let's see if we got any leaks. So far, so good. All right. Let's do power on. There we go. No start button. I'll have to just do a little bit of let's try a little choke. Oh, she tried. She wants to go. Maybe a little less choke. Oh, she's gonna go. Let's try. It is right there. Hey! go. All right. Just got to get her to hold on a little more. Ooh, starter clutch is not happy. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Come on, hang in there. Well, ain't that gut-wrenching. I mean, it ran. I sure would like to hear it run a little more. You gotta be kidding me. It is right there, too. I wonder if I let it cool down, maybe it'll come around. Kind of doubt it. Dang it. To be continued. Wow, that's loud. I will take it. Man, who knows the last time this thing ran. Pulled out of archway, just an absolute wreck of a state. And now we got it just absolutely blasting decibels out the back. I am really happy with that. Starter clutch is gonna have to be addressed for sure. I just got super lucky, managed to get it to pop off there. Man, that's awesome. I think that is a success for tonight. Tomorrow, we ride. Today's agenda, besides riding it of course, is to sort out the electrical a little bit. So already I went ahead and unplugged the ignition switch, cleaned up the terminals and dielectric grease and all that good stuff, just because they were a little grungy and I wasn't getting a solid connection with the key. And the cluster had some weird stuff going on, like oil light and neutral light were backwards, high beam came on with the new turn signal. It was all kinds of messed up. But it's the correct cluster, I'm pretty sure, but it's just pinned out differently. I'm assuming for like maybe a custom or Nighthawk or something. So all I gotta do is I unpinned the cluster side and I'm just gonna make it match this side. I'll verify that with the wiring diagram, of course. Once that's done, might try and get my starter button to work, because that would be way more convenient than jumping the solenoid. And yeah, we'll go from there.
A few moments later.
Repinned it, plugged it back in, got a battery. Let's see if it looks any different. Hey. All right. That's a lot better. I think there was a short somewhere because it wasn't plugged into the right areas, obviously. So these were super dim and acting all funky. But it seems like that is all sorted out now. You even have a high beam switch and turn signal. believe it or not. That's cool. All right, well, that was simple. And as promised, you're next. The left side is looking a little bit bare, don't you think? Got a nice clutch perch here. Also robbed off my 1100. It really hurts more every time I say that. It's not exactly easy to source 1100F parts anymore. It probably never was, I would assume. But anywho, oh, I guess the choke was routed up here on that one. So we don't need that. But we do need the rest of it. That's looking a little bit more official. Starting to look like a motorcycle. Pretty excited to try this thing out. The only 750s I really have reference for are the K models, since I own one. So I've never really been on the F variant. Really curious how it differs from like the Nighthawk and the Custom. I assume the Custom probably had the same engine. Maybe different carburetor jetting or something. Gotta try them all. Let's see, hopefully this works. Things are getting serious now. We got a clutch. Well, at least a clutch handle. Don't know about a clutch yet. I sure hope so. That would be nice. Be nice to find some grips. But we'll get to that at some point. I got distracted. I was supposed to look at that starter button. But, well, maybe sorting this clutch switch out would help that. Guess we'll see. Well, I solved the mystery. Bypassed the clutch switch and verified that we were getting a 12-volt signal from our starter button, which we were. Jumpered ground to make sure the neutral switch wasn't a variable. And that didn't work either for this poor guy. So at that point, I drew the conclusion that this thing ain't good. And lo and behold, slapped this guy on. Beautiful. I'm really happy about that. So, according to my research, I guess it should have some shocks and a fuel tank still. Brakes are probably kind of important, I guess. But we will cross that bridge when we come to it. Got my Öhlins here. Just gotta get it on there and lift the bike up simultaneously. Oh my. Well, I made a discovery. That shock is significantly longer than the other one. Wow, I really should have noticed that. Well, who needs absorbers anyway? I'm more worried about brakes at the moment. I brought one of the numerous sets of Nighthawk forks that I had that had an extra caliper set on it. And I thought, there is no way that they would just work at all. Not only does the 700F caliper fit the rotor of the Nighthawk pretty much perfectly, I think I can run that just fine. Check this out. There we go. Just like that. So I guess if you ever wondered if a Nighthawk caliper fit on a 750F, it does. So that's convenient. Man, I almost could have just run this caliper. I didn't want to take any chances, so I went ahead and disassembled it. but I mean, there's a little goo in there, but that was one of the easiest calipers to come apart that I've ever had. Anyway, I'll get this one cleaned up, rinse and repeat with the other side. Hopefully the master cylinder is not terrible, and we will see what we can wind up with. Well, this is the caliper that was on the bike, and well, see for yourself. I don't think those pistons are coming back. They're just so pitted and rotten. So I went ahead and grabbed the other caliper off the Nighthawk forks that I've got, and that looks a lot more serviceable. Still gotta clean them up, but I think that'll do just fine. Got some nice and fresh calipers here. I think they turned out pretty well. Go ahead and slip you on. We are very close to having functioning front brakes, which is a luxury where I'm from. Torque this to about, yep. Yeah, that's spec. Rinse and repeat for the other side, and then we'll work on getting a line ran and a master cylinder on. Well, I was meandering through the brake system here. Got a master up, got this hose cleaned out and connected, and it's coming over to this crossover and just spritzed a little cleaner in there, and I got some chocolate coming out. There's a whole chunk. That's some old stuff. So I'll probably have to go ahead and pull that off and give it a good cleaning. Well, guess what? We have brakes now. See? I think I'm gonna just slap a nurse tank on this and a seat and take it on a rip around the parking lot. See what she can do. All right, guys. I'm gonna wheel this pig down and just see what happens. I have not tried the clutch. I have not tried actually riding it. So this should be a fun experience. All right, here goes nothing. Oh boy. I just realized I don't have foot pegs. Oh, there's passenger pegs. Oh, this just got a little more interesting. Oh man, that was terrifying actually. I mean, it kind of did stuff. I don't love that it's dragging on the center stand. Okay, well, yeah, I need to reevaluate here real quick. Gonna put a battery in this thing. Okay, I'll try this again. I feel like we can do a little better than that. Oh man, it is obnoxiously loud. That's scary. She is not happy. Not happy at all. Well, it kind of did it. All right, so maybe not an amazing first run, but darn it, it runs. It went from being piled up in a warehouse along a bajillion other bikes left for dead to running it around the parking lot. So I think that's an improvement at least. It's something. At least I'm going to convince myself of that.
Now we have a ton of projects, some new ones you will see very soon. We even have a new compressor we're trying to get going here. So we got a lot of stuff going on. This guy right here, Junkyard Fresh, kind of a hot rod. I don't know, I'd be curious to see what you guys want us to do with it. I'm kind of curious to see what you want to do with it too.
I haven't really decided what I want to do with it. Like it runs, but it needs work to be a decent rider. And it would be interesting to get a good experience of it, and it's in a little bit better shape than it is.
Yeah, like optimize it a little bit, but I don't know. You said in the video that you hate robbing parts off your 1100.
I do.
So this one kind of pains you at the same time.
I've had to take more parts than I wanted to for my 1100s.
Yeah, this guy right here, you know. So I don't know. It's like you proved it would run right around the parking lot.
Oh, it runs.
I think maybe we could play around with it a little bit more. I want to see the tank on it, honestly.
I do too. That was kind of the thing that drew me to it to begin with, was that F tank.
Yeah, this thing was just kind of really identifiable sitting in the junkyard. It was really cool. So yeah, anyway, what do you guys want to see? So anyway, I hope you guys like this quick little project. While the boss is away, the Seth will play, I guess. So yeah, we got another 750F in here, and I guess I'm not surprised. So anyway, again, let us know what you guys think, and tune in next week for more shenanigans. Anyway, thanks for watching.